Welcome back to another video. We're gonna take a look at the command that I received yesterday. So when I write an object in VRML and try to import the WRL file into Blender, the x-axis is swapped with the z-axis, and also we see that the x-axis is swapped with -x. So let's take a look at why this happens. Within Blender, we see that by default we have the z-axis as the up axis. Therefore, if I will go and load the same model that I used in my previous WRL file, the statue over here, we're gonna see within Blender we can have this transform at import. So we have the forward axis and we have the up axis. Now I will leave them like this, so with y up in this case, and for the 3D scan of that sculpture, the y-axis will actually be z up. So let's see how that model will load. We see the model over here, and now with the model selected, if we're gonna go to the transformation of the object, we're gonna see that we have a rotation over here on x for 90 degrees. By default with 0 it should be like this, and we also have the z-axis over here 180 degrees, so by default it should be over here. Now within import we can have those change. As we can see, we added those x and y axis, but if you consider that the x-axis is flipped, for example, we see the orientation of the statue is over here, keep in mind that if I will go on scale and add -1, this will flip the model on the x-axis, as we can see. But the same will happen also over here on the z-axis. If I'm gonna put this to 0, it will be the same orientation as we see the orientation of the, for example, the head of the horse. So this is with z0, z 100 degrees, and also scale on x 1 or scale -1. But as we can see, this will also be mirrored. So currently the orientation of the horse will be toward this. We can also deal with those mirrored elements over here with the scaling. And this is within Blender. We have the default z-axis as the up axis. But if I'm going to import the same model in a different software, such as 3ds Max, so let me load the same statue. As we can see over here within the import file, I didn't have any options to change the axis, but by default we're gonna have the z-axis position like this as the up axis. And also if I will go and press E in order to enable the rotation of the model, we're gonna see that on the x-axis we're gonna have 90 degrees. So by default the model would be loaded like this, but we had that 90 degrees on x. And again, 3ds Max has the same orientation. As we can see over here, the z-axis as up. But in other softwares such as SolidWorks, if I'm gonna drag and drop the same statue, which is this one, you're gonna see that SolidWorks uses a y-axis as up, but within the import of the model we're going to see how this will be aligned to the view. So we have the object loaded, and we see the top plane, we see the front plane. So even though we have the y-axis as the up axis, in this case the model has been loaded accordingly to the desired orientation. As we can see, this will be the, so in this case this will be the right plane, this will be the front plane, so those, let's say, are flipped, but on the z-axis we see that the orientation, in this case the y-axis, is well set. So there aren't any, let's say, changes that you can add over here. It's mostly regarding how 3D software interpret those 3D models. As you saw, Blender uses the Z up, the same with 3ds Max, but other software such as SolidWorks will use a different orientation on the model. So it's mostly after you have the model loaded, you can deal with the orientation by adding the desired rotation. And if you have problems with mirrored objects, you can always use the -1 scale, and that should flip the model on different axes. So we see if I will add minus on both, even though I have that orientation over here, so we see the orientation for that horse, but over here with 1 it will be flipped over here. So if I will add over there minus and over here 1 and 0, this should also be flipped. So you can use various combinations by either rotating the model or have it flipped on the scale axis with -1 in order to properly align the model. Okay, so I hope that you find this video useful. I will position a similar video over here to the left and a subscribe button to the right. So thanks for watching.